Hello everyone and welcome back to Infantry Only Fire Emblem 4, the only Fire Emblem Let's Play series on YouTube where... Last time we were able to take out Chapter 3 and deal with Eldigan in a relatively casualty-free manner, and now that Eldigan Depression's done, it's time to move on to Lewyn Depression. But before we get into that, I actually have one thing I want to say first, and guess what? It's me saying that I love you. I say this every goddamn time, but I will never get old of saying it. I am really thankful for the attention that this series has gotten, and it has continued to almost grow in views over time, which is very uncommon for a series with multiple episodes. Normally it kinda dips down as it goes along, but y'all have been keeping this going strong, and I thank you for it immensely. And now that I've got done explaining my one thing I wanted to do before we kick this episode off, I gotta explain one thing before we kick this episode off. Before this chapter begins, we start an event that is occurring at an uncomfortably frequent amount of times. Sigurd saying goodbye to someone without knowing that he's never going to see them again. Quan, Ethlyn, and Finn all leave the army at the start of this chapter, and the main thing to note about that is Ethlyn. Her weapons and items pass down to Leif, who, as you may or may not know, starts one of the chapters in the second generation with just Finn and Nana to help defend a castle, which is a bit of a problem because I can't use Finn and Nana, so we have to have Leif survive on his own. So I gave Ethlyn the defense ring and the earth sword to help Leif have some sort of longevity. I honestly don't know if it's going to be enough. I'm kind of just praying to God that's going to work out. We'll see how that works when we get there. Chapter 4 of Fire Emblem 4 is actually very simple in concept. You go north, go back, then go south. It's really nothing complicated in terms of layout. What is complicated is the terrain on the layout. It's littered with woods and trees and shit, and it can just be really difficult to traverse. But thankfully, we can keep everyone together relatively well to deal with the threats ahead of us. The immediate threat is a fuck ton of wind mages, and for those of you who don't know, wind magic is kind of just the best in genealogy, with no real argument, I think, so they can put our team in mincemeat if we let them. Thankfully, we have Lewyn, and as we know, when Lewyn wants something to disappear, it disappears. However, before we can even truly finish dealing with the wind mages, there's already a horde of Pegasus Knights down our back to just swoop in and pluck us from the earth. So just make sure you have Ideen and Claude in the back so that they can't be destroyed, and just send everyone out to deal with them. You want to take care of the commander as quickly as possible so those pesky little commander stars don't make her knights more annoying than they already are, but they actually don't do that much damage, they're just fast, so you can quickly pick them off with pretty much everyone. It looks really scary, but it's honestly not that big a deal. The trek up to the castle in the north isn't too interesting. I leave some people behind like Arden and Brigid just so I don't have to have them all go back when it's all done. Yeah, the backtracking in this chapter isn't as bad as people like to make it out to be, and I'll explain why, but I do just want to leave them down to alleviate some of the headache. I just go forward with a small group and just pick off people as they come. Not a whole lot interesting really happens during this little stretch here. At the end of the trek, the boss has removed the bridge to his castle to prevent us from getting across. Unfortunately for him, Dew studied bridges in elementary school and is able to show off his alchemic mastery by creating stones from water. After this, we just waltz on over the bridge and wipe out everything with our mage combo of Lewyn and Untitled Chapter. The boss himself is instantly wiped out by Lewyn as well. He's level 30, he doesn't need the experience, but it's thematic, and that's what's really important in this kind of run, the theme of it. Before we seize that castle though, we want to just start moving everyone back down south to prepare for the second half of this chapter. And while we're doing that, we manage to find the village that has the Barrier Sword, an exclusive sword that increases defense to its user and is only gettable by Sylvia. She has to do a little dance and excite an entire population by shaking her ass. Now, let's see here, what's good music to put to this? Yeah, I think that's a little slow. Not enough zombies for this to really be fitting. Oh yeah, now we're talking! Once Sigurd seizes the castle to the north, it's time to watch one of the more depressing scenes in this game. The absolute slaughter of a legion of Pegasus Knights, as Manya goes out to meet Pamela's forces in the south. Now, at first, things seem quite evenly matched, with neither side really being the stronger side. That is, until the Bow Knights of Jungbi come in like the untagged ugly bastards in your wholesome hentai dojins. Once they arrive, the tide is turned completely, as their bows completely fuck over Manya's entire unit and take her life. This isn't really talked about because this is the least sad of like 5 different massacres in this game, which just goes to show you what kind of game we're playing here. And this is where I'm going to take a quick moment to defend the backtracking in this chapter, because while you're making a rushed pace to get back to your home base, you have to just watch this massacre happen. Like, it takes control out of your hands on purpose just to really sell the tragedy of this scene. But people look at it and just go, backtracking bad, and doesn't actually think about how it adds to the story. So, this has nothing to do with the infantry only part of this run. I just want to defend Fire Emblem 4 for a moment because, god damn, people really think this game is worse designed than it actually is. Once Manya falls, Andre moves on to seize the capital, and Pamela goes north to seize the other castle that we just captured. And, sad as it is to say, we warp Arden on over there to deal with the Pegasus Knights. Sorry, bud. I love you, but not even in this run can you truly escape the job of castle duty. As for taking the castle that we want to capture, we're going to have to deal with the fact that civilians are running for their lives from axe-wielding maniacs. The whole gimmick here is that you can rescue them, and whoever rescues them gets an absolutely free level up. Problem is, they start pretty far away from where we can go, and there's a good chance that some of them will just die before even on a mounted run we could do anything about it. So just accept dead people as dead people, and if you feel even a little bit bad, don't worry. Remember, green units aren't people. Once we rescue the civilians, the actual seizing of the castle isn't all that interesting. It's just a small handful of axe goons and wind mage goons. Once they're taken care of, we decide to go for a change of pace and have Brigid shoot at something until it dies, giving Prince Jam and Lewyn a break. After that, it's just a simple seizing of the castle, and then Lewyn achieves something funny. I don't know where I was going with that. It is at this moment that Lewyn receives the magical tome Forseti, aka one of the most busted weapons in the history of the entire Fire Emblem franchise. It jacks up his stats, it alone does a fuck ton of damage, it's just a weapon that makes Lewyn unstoppable. Granted, it costs an arm and a leg to repair even a single usage of it, and there's really not that much left for Lewyn to dominate, but hey, while it's there, it turns Lewyn into a legendary unit. But while that's going on, there's some trouble up north. Arden alone is stood to defend the castle against an entire legion of Pegasus Knights, who just emerged victorious from a battle a little bit ago. He doesn't have any holy weapons or broken skills, just a small dinky hand axe to fend off an entire army of Pegasus Knights. This is gonna truly be Arden's most difficult battle. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck they were thinking. They're all kinda stupid. Arden just looked at him funny, threw his little boomerang axe. They all died. It's whatever, no big deal. As for our main group, the march towards the final castle is met halfway by a group of lady swordswomen. Now, they have some status swords and their leader actually can do some damage, so we take this with caution. And by take this with caution, I mean we just have Lewyn fucking nuke the leader. With this, the rest can fall fairly easy enough. And, should any of their status swords stop us, Ideen is right there with the restore staff to stop it from being a problem. Because seriously, status conditions aren't nearly as bad as a lot of people make them out to be, as long as you have a pretty blonde healer ready to restore. Seriously, not that difficult. And so, the finale of the chapter is upon us, and again, despite being level 30 and not needing any boss experience whatsoever, I have Lewyn nuke the boss with Forseti. It's about the theme. Lewyn deserves this, he deserves the world. And once that's done, you'd think it's time for me to say sayonara and wrap this all up. But before we do, something really interesting happened after I already finished the chapter, and I really need to talk about it really quick. So for shits and giggles, I had Arden attempt the final arena fight, but no, chapter's over, it doesn't matter what the fuck happens to him. He proceeds to dodge 2 95s in a row, activate Pavice, and then successfully kill the final opponent and get the XP and gold. I just had to bring that up because I literally stopped the speed up because I really wasn't expecting to win and was just like, what the fuck? And with that, Lewyn Depression hours are over. It was a relatively fun chapter. I really liked Chapter 4, more so for its story and theming, but it wasn't nearly as bad as I was afraid of. So, with all that said and done, here we are, boys and girls, and women and men, and everything in between, and everything that's neither. We're on the final showdown of part 1 of Genealogy. Fuck it, it's at the end of the video, I'm not re-recording this. I thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and a comment. I really am always thankful for how much traction this series gets. I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much. So, I will see you all next time for the conclusion of Generation 1. See you all then, and have a wonderful day.